This is former WWE superstar Eugene, and today I'm going to tell you the shocking story of me becoming a coach at WWE's Performance Center, and I will also expose who in the WWE head office was trying to sabotage my job by spreading rumors. July 2012. I was living in Southern Indiana, working at a local gym as a personal trainer. I was also wrestling every weekend on the independent circuit, and I was called by Johnny Ace on a Wednesday night. Johnny Ace says, "Will you come up to the WWE headquarters and record a stand-up for WWE video?" And basically the gist of it was Linda McMahon, Vince's wife and the CEO of WWE, was running for Senate in Connecticut. Linda's Senate opposition said that the WWE puts a mentally disabled character named Eugene, puts his head in the toilet. That actually, I mean, Eugene's head did go in the toilet, and Vince poured green paint on me, and I cried. And it was a very emotional, great role for me. But to have the Senate opposition say that a mentally handicapped person gets their head put in the toilet isn't exactly what happened, because we didn't define Eugene as a mentally handicapped person. Eugene was just special. Actually, Linda's Senate opposition tried to contact me. They wanted a statement, but I hung up on them. Didn't think twice about it. Boom, no. Not that I supported Linda in her political views, but I supported WWE, and I wasn't going to say one bad thing about them because my experience was not bad, although I had been fired 3 times. Johnny Ace calls me on the Wednesday night. I'm on a plane Friday morning. Cleared my schedule, my hectic schedule. I had to push some things back. Take off for Connecticut. They have the limo waiting at the airport. Mr. Dinsmore getting in the back seat. King of the castle, king of the castle. At the headquarters in Connecticut, they had the big building that everybody's seen with the WWE scrolled on it, the one that DX sprayed the DX on. But they also had a smaller offsite location. And when I walked into the room, I see some of the interns buzzing around, and I walk in and I turn, and Triple H is sitting right there. And all of a sudden I got nervous and I started to sweat. Triple H really didn't make me nervous. I just didn't expect to see him. And he just stood up right away, awesome, shook hands, hugged me. Oh, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this video. And he sat there all day. We probably filmed for close to 3 hours. But what I didn't know was that I was gonna end up eating lunch with Triple H. So after we wrapped, action, scene, whatever it was, whenever we finished the stand-up for WWE video, I assumed that the limo would take me back to my hotel in New York City. And I would fly back to Southern Indiana, to Louisville, Kentucky. But Triple H goes, "Hey, are you hungry?" I was not going to turn down free food, so I was like, sure. So Triple H, we sat down at the little kitchenette area that was in the smaller facility in Connecticut, and he sent someone to get us lunch, and we just began to talk. And a lot of the questions were like, I remember he asked me, did I have a contract with OVW with Danny Davis? And it really wasn't a contract. It was just, a handshake deal that Danny worked out that I'd wrestle for him forever. And he'd asked me if I was signed with TNA, or if I had any contract with TNA, which I did not. And then our lunch comes. And it was, the New York area. We were in Connecticut, but I wanted a good Northeast Reuben, right? Triple H has 2 baked salmon. So I feel like I'm scarfing down all this grease and calories while he's eating salad and vegetables and rice. I'd been around him, I'd worked with him, but we never had an instance where we just kind of sat next to one another and talked. And I was trying to be as polite as I could be, as informative as I could be, as personable as I could be. I didn't want to talk too much. I didn't want to say too much, but I didn't want to say not enough. Because, in the back of my head, of course I wanted to be hired by WWE again. That's the dream, that's the goal, especially then. I was much younger. And the lunch ended. Everything was good. We shook hands. And I got on the limo, went back to New York City, and flew back to Louisville, Kentucky. But something big would come out of this lunch eventually. So it was May 2013, and I was contacted by WWE to come down as a guest coach at the FCW in Tampa. I was so broke, I had like $20. WWE provided me with a car and a hotel room, but I knew that I had to put gas back in the car. That was the only thing, put gas back in the car before he returned it. So I didn't know how much I'd be driving. So I didn't know if my $20 was going to go to gas or for food that week. I was there for an entire week at FCW. I was going to get paid for it, and I knew that, but it would come in by check in a few weeks. And I was eating, I think I got a breakfast at the hotel, so I had breakfast covered. And then at lunch, I was going to Taco Bell, because back then they still had a $1 menu. And I would spend about $3 on the potato soft tacos, because they were 99 cents. Hoping not to spend the entire $20 in case I had to put some in the gas, because I didn't want to return the car with no gas or less gas when the only direction WWE gave me on the car was return it with gas. And I left FCW, shaking everyone's hand, had a good time, felt like I had a good week. And I flew back to Louisville, Kentucky. So June of 2013, I was contacted by Canyon Seaman. I was told that there was a position to be a coach at FCW, and that I was on a short list that was to be hired as the coach. And it was a short list of one, which that really made me feel great. That Triple H was taking over. At the time, they knew he was taking over the developmental territory, and I thought everything was just going to be great. And then out of the blue, I got an email from Canyon Seaman. This was titled "A Statement and a Question." And here's a question that will catch you off guard. Someone said this sentence to me today. "Oh, Nick will for sure sue us before or after this is done." In parentheses, it was a corporate person, not a coach. "Can you reassure me that whether this coaching experiment goes well or poorly, that this is not going to go down that road? Thanks, Canyon Seaman." He sent this to me at 2:37 in the afternoon. And it blindsided me, because sometimes there was a culture of what we would call in the scientific, psychological termination, mind fucking going on. That the people in power would sometimes mind fuck the talent. But I figured if I was a coach now, that corporate mind fucking that was done to the minions would kind of cease. But this made me rethink all that. So the ones doing the mind are the top of the food chain. And if you're getting mind you're in the bottom. So if I'm still getting mind I'm not in. That's how I felt. And these are what the questions I had over and over all day long. Experiment? This experiment, me selling my house, moving all my possessions to Orlando where I have no connections, no family, moving everything to Orlando on an experiment, whether it goes well or poorly. I'm not hoping for this to go poorly. And it made me rethink all of a sudden, what was I doing? He sent that to me 2:37 in the afternoon. All day I stewed, and I finally replied at 9:25 p.m. And that's really, it was, I sweat, I typed, I retyped, I thought about it. Didn't take many breaks. Yes, that statement did catch me off guard. I cannot imagine any reason why anyone would say that about me. I've never had any interest in suing the company. In my time away from the company, I've never slammed, put down, or talked bad about the company on any interview, Facebook, or Twitter post. I have no resentments towards the company. I've always been very loyal to WWE. A few years back, there was a group of former WWE wrestlers attempting to band together former WWE talent to bring a lawsuit. I had no interest and didn't even listen to what they had to say. In 2009, I was rehired. After 1 week, I was told I was out of shape and immediately fired. The phrase I remember was, "We're not selling old fat Eugene." I believe that is illegal for someone to be fired for that reason, but I sought no legal action. Last summer, John Laurinaitis called me on a Wednesday night, asked if I would fly to the office to film a stand-up for WWE video the following Friday morning. John said that Vince asked if I would film this segment. I did it out of loyalty to the company. I've never had any desire to sue the WWE. I've wanted to be a part of the WWE since I was a boy. The coaching job has been my dream since I was initially hired and placed in the developmental system in 1999. Honestly, it baffles me that someone would say that about me. I hope my email has not come across in any bad way. I was just taken off guard by the statement. Respectfully, Nick Dinsmore. So I sent that email, and the rest of the night, I was up all night. I was thinking, what corporate person, not a coach, would say that about me? Because honestly, I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but I try to be the nicest person I can be, and I don't know that anybody has ever really said anything bad about me, that knew me. And then I started thinking, well, How many people do I actually know in the office? The only person that I knew that was in the office, that knew me, that I knew what he looked like, was Mark Carano. And then the light bulb went off. Of course it was Carano. It could only be Carano. And to let you know why it is Mark Carano, I'm going to have to take you back to 2008. So July 20th, 2008, Louisville, Kentucky, Ohio Valley Wrestling had one of their big Six Flags shows. A handful of the WWE talent was down wrestling on the Six Flags show. I was not under contract. I'd been fired twice by 2008. After the Six Flags show, a group of people went out to eat at a Lone Star Steakhouse in Louisville, Kentucky. One of the people there was my soon-to-be wife, Stephanie, and one of the other people there was Mark Carano. We had a late dinner. Everybody that wasn't driving had a few drinks. Carano had a few drinks. And all night he kept telling Stephanie how pretty she was. Okay, whatever. So you got to think, at my head, I'm thinking, well, Eugene could get rehired a third time for WWE. So as he's sitting there slobberily hitting on my wife, I didn't really make too much of a fuss because, not that Carano could stop me from getting fired, I just didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And it's much easier to try to ignore a drunk than try to make some kind of scene right there in the Lone Star Steakhouse in Louisville, Kentucky. They closed the restaurant, but they let us continue having fun and drinking. So it was just the staff cleaning up in Lone Star and our table. Finish our toast, hugs and kisses. We're going to go home. Stephanie goes, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, she goes to the bathroom. There was only about, I think, 7 of us at the table, maybe 8. So it wasn't a big table. And I look around and I didn't know where Carano went. So I went over to the women's restroom and I was just going to push the door open a little bit. And as I did, it didn't move. And then I pushed it a little harder and Carano was inside the women's bathroom. I can see Stephanie to my right. Her back is against the wall. Carano is against the door with his foot and his hand against the door, trying to hold it, reaching over, going, kiss me, kiss me. And I kind of barged my way in. Carano immediately slithers out and takes off. And she was just kind of taken aback. I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like that is some kind of, maybe not sexual assault, but attempted sexual assault. I don't know. Because the fact was, that really scarred her and hurt her. Stephanie and I walk out, we get in our car and we leave. Everybody was going home. Lone Star was closed. And I didn't appreciate until later that how scared she was when he was pushing his hand against the door and his foot, and she was just out of reach. She had her back against the wall when I came in. And it really made me mad that I didn't do something about it that night. And I knew that was why Carano was the one in the office that told Kane and Seaman that I would eventually sue WWE. So my contract with WWE was finally countersigned. I was now a coach at the Performance Center. I wouldn't come face to face with Mark Carano until WrestleMania 30. And I'll tell you about that story in the next video here on Eugene Behind the Scenes. If you like this video and you want to see more content from Eugene Behind the Scenes, click on one of these videos. They are awesome.